There are a lot of different types of LSAT questions, and a lot of prep companies tend to overcomplicate the LSAT by categorizing them this way and that way. But the truth is, you don't need another 500-page LSAT prep phone book to get a top LSAT score. Today, I'm going to share with you how I simplified my LSAT prep and got a 175 on the LSAT by doing less. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, one of my biggest breakthroughs came when I realized that I didn't need to think so much about LSAT question types, and instead, if I actually understood the argument or I actually understood the reading comp passage, things became a whole lot easier because, surprise, surprise, if you understand the source material that they're asking you about, the question becomes a whole lot easier. So in logical reasoning, I discovered that if I focused more on the method of reasoning in the stimulus, if I actually took the time to understand what I was reading, I could solve the question much faster with a higher accuracy rate. And this key insight became the cornerstone of what later came to be known as the Socratic review method. This is a keystone strategy of my LSAT prep courses and my one-on-one LSAT coaching programs. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. The key of the Socratic review method is taking the time to understand the argument or the passage, then understand the question stem, and finally, of course, understand the answer choices. In particular, what makes the wrong answer choices tempting and what ultimately makes them wrong. What makes the right answer choices unappealing and what ultimately makes them correct. Because the thing is, there are patterns in what you're getting wrong and why, and until you understand exactly what mistakes you're making and why, what you're uniquely prone to falling for, you may end up, of course, making the same mistake again. And that's what we want to help you avoid. All of this is regardless of the question stem type. Sometimes you're getting things wrong because you're not clear on your indicator words for, say, sufficient and necessary conditions or for evidence and conclusion, and these will carry you far. But if you don't know them, you're in major trouble. Now, why am I focusing on logical reasoning here to start with? It's because logical reasoning is now 2/3 of the LSAT. After the June LSAT, LSAC removed the logic game section and replaced it with a second scored logical reasoning section. And so you want to focus roughly 2/3 of your LSAT prep time on logical reasoning in particular. Of course, we cover all the different question types on the LSAT because you do need to know what they're asking you for, along with the most important methods of reasoning like correlation causation, confusing necessary and sufficient conditions, because of course, it's not always about the LSAT question stem type. Now, in reading comprehension, much of what I just said applies here as well. Focus on the passage text. Don't get overly involved in taking notes, highlighting and underlining. Just make sure you are crystal clear on the main idea, the primary purpose. In other words, what is the author's opinion? Why did they write this passage? And what are they looking to communicate? You don't need to summarize every single paragraph. You don't need to highlight keywords or anything like that. In fact, the highlighting and underlining tools are glitchy and unreliable on LSAC's Law Hub, just as they are on LSAT test day, so I would not want you to get reliant upon them. And the other thing about these complicated, over-involved note-taking strategies is that it takes time to write things down, it takes time to read what you wrote, and oftentimes what you wrote down may not end up even being useful for solving the questions. A lot of these strategies are wonderful sounding if you had unlimited time, but of course you do not have unlimited time. In fact, the LSAT has a pretty strict time constraint, and so you want to make sure that you can at least knock out the general global questions like main idea, primary purpose, passage organization, because if you don't know the main idea, you're missing the big picture. We want to make sure you have that down, which is why we will often recommend for our students that we engage in exercises like rewriting the entire passage in simpler language, like you were going to explain to a 5-year-old, focusing on getting the main idea, The detailed questions, you can always go back to the passage to find the key information and the key line references when you need them to help you solve a particular question. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.